Helio Castroneves officially confirmed for the Daytona 500. We got a number of different Xfinity and Truck Series announcements, a shakeup over at Door Bumper Clear, and is Will Buxton about to head stateside in 2025? Welcome back to Break Hard. I'm Matt. I am done shoveling snow finally until probably this weekend when it's going to snow again, which is highly unfortunate because the Blackwing still has summer tires on it. I'm going to have to put some all-season tires on it, which are in the garage, but the whole swap process just takes too much time right now. So we'll get to that. But for now, let's talk about things that actually happened this week. We finally got confirmation that Helio Castroneves will attempt the Daytona 500 next month with Trackhouse in that Project 91 car. Trackhouse will become the first team to enter 4 drivers from 4 different countries, which honestly is a pretty cool little achievement for them. Castroneves will drive the number 91 car, sponsored by Wendy's, which has, of course, a great relationship with Trackhouse and Colleague and that whole little camp over there. And Darian Grubb will be his crew chief. Darian Grubb, of course, won a NASCAR Cup Series championship with Tony Stewart and has done some fill-in stuff here and there. So overall, that's a pretty good team, a pretty good lineup, great sponsor, really good crew chief, and a driver that will be making his first NASCAR Cup Series start, potentially, if he qualifies for the Daytona 500. He'll either have to qualify on speed or he'll have to lock himself in through a duel. It appears that NASCAR will approve him to just jump in and race the Daytona 500. There is a practice session before Daytona 500 qualifying this year. That is a big plus for Helio. He also has made some IROC starts back 20 years ago at this point. But it appears that they won't make him run an ARCA race beforehand, which obviously is a bit counterintuitive because the duels fall before the ARCA race, so it wouldn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. But I don't have that big of an issue with it just because the Gen 7 car isn't a traditional stock car in the same sense that like a Gen 6 was at that. So yeah, I know I complained about Mike Wallace, potentially hopping in at 65 and not having any experience in these cars. And it kind of goes along with Helio here as well, but that practice session, I guess, is going to make it okay for everybody going forward. Now, let's get into the actual news of the week. We'll start off with a number of different Xfinity and Truck Series announcements that came out Monday and Tuesday at this point. We'll start off with the Tricon Garage #1 truck, that rotating cast, that all-star truck that we saw last year. It had a number of different drivers in it. This year, 2025, we'll have 4 different drivers in it. You'll have Brandon Jones for 7 races. Then you will have William Swalch for 5 races, Brent Cruz for 9 races, and Lawless Allen for 4 races. Kind of look through the lineup real quick. Brandon Jones, of course, back in the Toyota camp with Joe Gibbs Racing in that 20 car in the Xfinity Series. Him making select truck starts makes sense. He is a winner as well in the Truck Series. So we'll see what he can do with that truck. Moving into William Swalch, we've seen him in that one truck over the last 2 seasons, and while he's shown speed at times, he doesn't necessarily have the finishes that are really indicative of a guy I think that you would where you would expect him to finish at, kind of a hyped up prospect on some people's boards. I'm still not entirely sold on William Swalch. We'll see what he does in the Xfinity Series this year, but him getting more reps, especially in the Truck Series as well, is definitely not a bad thing. Just would like to see his finishes start to match where his speed has been at. Then you have Brent Cruz, who is easily the most interesting driver in this lineup. He is a top tier prospect, a blue chip, a 5-star, a can't miss as it currently stands. Think of Connor Zilic just in the Toyota camp for Brent Cruz. He has won in everything that he's been in. He wins on dirt. He wins on road courses. He wins in stock cars. He wins in the car's late model tour. He wins in everything. Now we're going to see what he can do in a truck in 2025. He, of course, is still under the age of 18, so he's only going to be able to race at select races for the time being. But we'll see what he can do. I'm really interested to see how that plays out for him. And then you have Lawless Allen, who lives by his own rule set, except for when people are like, hey, you can only do 4 races and not 23. And then he's like, oh, okay. He will also be contesting a full season in ARCA with Venerini, and he's there. Haley Deegan's not in this series anymore, so he can't run into her. I'm sure he'll find a new person to run into and argue with after the race. And I'm sure Auto Park It Solutions, or whatever the actual name is, it will be the sponsor on the car. But Lawless Allen still remaining in the Truck Series in 2025. Moving into some Xfinity Series announcements. On Tuesday, we got a announcement from Joe Gibbs Racing that Justin Bonsignore, the 4-time Whelen Modified champion, who made his NASCAR Xfinity Series debut last year in 2024 with Joe Gibbs Racing at New Hampshire, finished 22nd, will be driving in 5 races for Joe Gibbs Racing in 2025 behind the wheel of the number 19 car, which will be the rotating car for 2025. Justin is an interesting case. I don't know if he's going to want to make the full-time jump over to the Xfinity Series, but this feels a lot like what we saw with Ryan Preece when he took that gamble on himself, got those few races at Joe Gibbs Racing, goes out there and wins, and that propels him into a NASCAR Cup Series ride and more opportunities. Maybe that's something that Justin's looking to do as well, which I don't think is a bad thing whatsoever. Also on Tuesday, we got the announcement from Sam Hunt Racing that Dean Thompson is officially joining that team full-time in 2025 and will go after the Rookie of the Year honors as well as the championship. And shout out to James Dean Thompson over here, the movie star one in the Porsche, not the other one for all you people with dirty minds out there. No, this one, because James... Dean is looking absolutely chiseled right now, so good for him. The workout regimen is going crazy right now. He's going to be racing in the Xfinity Series full-time. He made 2 starts in 2024 in the Xfinity Series for Sam Hunt Racing. Charlotte as well as Talladega, 33rd at Charlotte, 20th at Talladega. He has got 3 full NASCAR Truck Series seasons under his belt, one with Nice, the other 2 with Tricon Garage. Has a best career finish of 3rd place twice in 2023. He had speed at times in 2024, but his finishes aren't really indicative of the speed that he had. So I know he has the speed. I know he has the speed to run in the top 5 when the car is good, the truck's good, whatever he's in. I would just like to see the finishes follow along with that. And Sam Hunt continually puts really good equipment on the racetrack. They're still chasing that first win as well, but I think that's a good landing spot for him for next year. So we have all of that going along. We also had some other ARCA announcements. This Thad Moffitt and Nitro Motorsports will be chasing an ARCA championship along with Butterbean, who will be in that number 28 Pinnacle Racing Group car. Venerini also announced Lawless Allen. Jake Finch will be doing 6 races, I believe, with the team. So ARCA could actually be pretty interesting this year going forward. We'll see how all of that plays out. Moving into the shakeup over at Door Bumper Clear. So I know everybody's waiting for the Christmas episode. You're not getting the Christmas episode. It's the first week of January, past the first week of January. At this point, it's not coming. But what we did get this week was news of what their new lineup will look like in 2025. Gone are Brett Griffin. We already knew that. He announced that after the last show of the season. We also found out this week, though, that TJ Majors also gone from the show, as well as Casey Boat, the host, also leaving the show. So 3 of the 4 members left the show. That's a 75% exit rate. Not ideal there. However, they did announce this week that Tommy Baldwin, the former crew chief and team owner, will be joining the panel, and that Carson Elledge will take over the hosting duties of the show as well. Freddie Kraft will also return to the show. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be upset about this. Let's talk about the departures real quick. Brett Griffin leaving, I don't think it leaves that big of a hole in the show. Brett wasn't good 90% of the time, in my opinion. His opinion started to go off the rail, and it made the show worse. His inconsistency of showing up and doing things remote, just not being there some weeks, was started to get annoying, and he's not in tune with what's happening at the track as much anymore. I will say this, though. As much as I like to make fun of the rosy cheek spotter from South Carolina, he does talk about the business side of the sport, and he knows the business side of the sport, and that's when he was at his best. So I always enjoyed listening to that portion of it, and I am going to miss that side of it because Brett does a lot on the business side of the sport, and I always enjoy hearing what he has to say about it, just because I like to know nuts and bolts and behind the curtain type of things there. So I will miss that aspect of it, and actually his last couple of episodes in 2024 weren't that bad. So yeah, I know some people are going to be really bummed he's gone, but I don't think it's going to leave as big of a hole as some people maybe anticipated. It does have some loose lips though, so maybe we'll miss out on some more of the rumor stuff at that. TJ Majors being gone, also kind of a bummer as well. TJ, of course, is never going to give you an outlandish take. He's never going to say anything really that controversial, but he will always come with the data or the data, however you want to say that. So I'm going to miss that aspect of it, but I would not be shocked to see him land over at Dale Jr. Download in that co-host seat. to kind of steer the ship in the same way Mike Davis used to, because Andrew Curlin and whoever the other guy is on there just didn't do the best job this year. And I think that Andrew does decent content. I just don't think that necessarily that is the role for him, in my opinion, just what I'm saying here. So I'd be interested to see if TJ goes over there and kind of does that show with Dale. Casey Boat being out as the host. I was never a huge fan of Casey and her direction of the show. I felt like some of her questions were weak at times and kind of just repeating things that had already happened. Didn't really love that. Obviously, she's got other things going on, professional job, personal life, all that other stuff. So Carson Elledge coming in, I think is actually an upgrade, because when Carson filled in, I actually enjoyed those because it felt like she was more in touch with what was going on and could definitely kind of give the shit back to the guys as well. Tommy Baldwin coming in. Tommy is a guy that is not afraid to speak his mind, not afraid to piss some people off. I'm excited about it. Not excited to hear about Riverhead every single week with he and Freddie, but is still excited. We also heard from Freddie on social say that he has a number of spotters lined up to come in for that third mic. He said it's hard to get people to commit for 40, shows a year. Completely understand that. But the fact that he's going to have sort of a rotating seat in there, I actually like that idea a lot. Some new voices, some new thoughts, some new perspectives. Totally a fan of that. So I'm interested to see how the new door bumper clear looks, but I know some people are probably going to be upset about it. And then the last story of the week, Sports Business Journal is reporting that Fox is targeting Formula One's Will Buxton to lead its IndyCar coverage. Are we going to see Will come stateside in 2025? When reached out to his agent, according to Sports Business Journal, he said no comment. So I want to see how all that plays out. But Will is a familiar name to American motorsport fans. He, of course, was part of Formula One's coverage when it was formerly on Speed, also a Fox property, then NBCSN, and he's been working for Formula One since 2018, doing content for them on all of their own channels. Him coming over to do IndyCar coverage is interesting. Certainly not a name that was on anybody's list to start off. Alan Bestwick was kind of the guy that I think most people wanted. He will remain in his position as the track announcer at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, which I think he does a fantastic job there. So I'm actually happy that he's staying there and we get to continue to hear his voice. But on the Will Buxton side of things, Will loves IndyCar. He's very in touch with what's happening in IndyCar. He's familiar to American motorsport fans. He had still has a massive part in Drive to Survive, something that a lot of casual motorsport fans in America are very familiar with. This is a really smart ploy by Fox, if that's what they're looking to do, to bring in a guy that can certainly help them spread the word, and is already a familiar face to a lot of motorsport fans. Of course, Fox also not afraid to throw money around like Jesse Gemstone to try to land some talent out here as well, because they gave Tom Brady $375 million, which they're certainly not going to give to Will Buxton, because $375 million can buy the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for what Roger Penske paid for it, which is still insane to me. So we'll see if Will Buxton comes over. In the article, it also mentioned that Townsend Bell, James Hinchcliffe are being targeted to remain in the booth as well, which is totally fine with me. I think they do a very good job. They argue with each other. They don't agree with each other's points. But overall, I really like it. Just interested to see how all of it plays out. So let me know in the comments what you think about Helio being confirmed at Trackhouse for the Daytona 500, the Xfinity and Truck Series announcements, DBC lineup changes, and Will Buxton. Is he coming to America in 2025? Just not a reboot on Amazon that I think everybody's forgotten about. So let me know in the comments what you think. Like and subscribe to the channel. Follow me on TikTok at BreakHard, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at BreakHardBlog.